Ivy reveals Ridge is Electra's bio father, leaving everyone stunned. On a jaw-dropping occasion of The Bold and the Beautiful, a secret buried for decades explodes into the open when Ivy Forrester makes a disclosure that shatters the veritably foundation of the Forrester family. Ridge Forrester is Electra's natural father. The moment unfolds inside the satiny, glass-walled administrative office at Forrester Creations, where pressure has formerly been stewing over business battles and romantic backstabbings. Ivy, visibly shaken but determined, calls a family meeting under the guise of agitating a critical company matter. Present are Ridge Forrester, regal and commanding as ever, Brooke Logan, vigilant and anxious, Eric Forrester, staid but sick from recent fermentation, and Electra Forrester, unknowing and confused by the unforeseen urgency. Indeed, Steffi Forrester and Thomas Forrester loiter hard, seeing drama in the air. What begins as a tense but ordinary battle spirals into an emotional earthquake when Ivy, her voice pulsing yet bent, announces that she can no longer live with the taradiddle she has carried for times. She reveals that long agone, during a brief but passionate chapter in her youth, Electra's mama commended in her that Ridge was the true father of her future child. According to Ivy, fear, pride, and complicated family politics led to the decision to conceal the verity, allowing another man to assume the part intimately while Ridge remained ignorant. The room falls into stupefied silence, broken only by Electra's sharp input of breath and Brooke's rumored unbelief. Ridge, blindsided, demands evidence, his voice echoing off the marble bottoms as wrathfulness and confusion battle across his face. Ivy produces an envelope. Outside, a decades-old letter written by Electra's mama and a recent DNA test attesting the natural link. The camera lingers on Ridge's face as consummation dawns. Recollections of once hassles, of inexplainable connections with Electra, flash through his mind. Electra, gashes welling in her eyes, struggles to reuse the disclosure that the man she has long respected from a distance isn't simply a relative but her father. Eric Forrester looks devastated, scuffling with the knowledge that yet another family secret has fractured the fragile consanity he has tried so hard to save. Brooke's response is concentrated, shock mixed with a flicker of fear about how this will alter her marriage and the delicate dynamics between her children and Ridge's. Steffi feels defensive and cautious, uncertain how this new stock will affect her own standing within the family and the company. Thomas, ever complicated, studies Electra with a blend of empathy and computation, apprehensive that similar exposures can shift commitment and power structures overnight. As Ivy explains her reasons for staying silent, fidelity to Electra's mama, fear of reproach, and a deceived belief that the verity would do further detriment than good, the emotional temperature rises. Ridge confronts Ivy, criminating her of stealing him of times he could have participated with his son, of birthdays missed and mileposts unseen. Electra, caught between gratefulness for eventually knowing the verity and resentment over the deception, switches out at both Ivy and Ridge, demanding to know why her life was erected on secrets. The battle spills into the design room, where staff members smell the bouleversement but remain hypercritically distant. The formerly glamorous world of haute couture feels suddenly small against the enormity of particular treason. Ridge ultimately asks for time alone with Electra. In a quieter scene, father and son sit across from each other, the hum of Los Angeles business faint in the background. Ridge's voice softens as he tells her he'd have chosen to be in her life, no matter the complications. Electra, pulsing but composed, admits she always felt a strange pull toward him, an implied connection she no way understood until now. Meanwhile, Brooke confides in Katie Logan about her fears that Ridge's renewed paternal devotion could renew old injuries and alliances, conceivably drawing him closer to once loves or reigniting battles. Eric, reflecting on his own complicated history, urges the family to embrace honesty moving forward, averring that secrets have always been the Forrester clan's topmost adversary. The fallout ripples outward. Board members question how this disclosure might impact company leadership. Gossip columns presume about retired heirs at law and commercial conspiracy, and longtime observers substantiation yet another seismic shift in a saga defined by passion, treason, and redemption. By occasion's end, Ridge stands before Electra in the Forrester manse, promising to make up for lost time and covenanting that from this moment on, there will be no more lies between them. Electra, though still wounded, allows a conditional grasp, motioning the morning of a fragile new chapter. Ivy watches from a distance, gashes streaming down her face, knowing she has exploded a verity that can no way be undone. The camera kissers out over the Los Angeles skyline, leaving Colt breathless and eager to see how this stunning maternity disclosure will reshape alliances, loves, and the heritage of the Forrester name on the ever-dramatic oil of the bold and the beautiful. The fallout from Ivy's concession on the bold and the beautiful doesn't fade, still it detonates in swells, each one further important than the last. In the hours after the disclosure that Rich Forrester is Electra's natural father, Forrester Creations becomes less a fashion conglomerate and further an emotional battleground. Word travels snappily despite the family's attempt to contain it. Whispers ripple through the design office, sidekicks change stupefied ganders, and social media begins to buzz with enterprise about a retired Forrester heir at law. The timing couldn't be worse. The company is on the verge of launching a major couture line, and stability at the top is pivotal. Rich spends the night pacing the living room at the Forrester manse, gaping at old family pictures. His entire sense of history feels rewritten. He renewals every commerce he ever had with Electra, the times he artificially defended her ideas in meetings, the strange emotional haul he felt whenever she was worried. What he formerly dismissed as simple domestic affection now feels like commodity, deeper, commodity natural. The remorse hits him hardest. The academy ladders he didn't attend, the birthdays he no way celebrated, the scraped knees and dolor he wasn't there to mend. Across city, Electra lies awake in her apartment, gaping at the ceiling. Her entire identity feels destabilized. The man she believed was her father, the man whose surname she carried with pride, is suddenly a shadow in her history. The knowledge that Ridge, important, complicated, larger than life Ridge is her natural father sends clashing feelings contending through her heart. She feels wrathfulness at being deceived, grief for lost time, and an unanticipated flicker of stopgap that perhaps this new verity can give her a stronger place in the world she has always felt partial inside of. The coming morning, Brooke confronts Ridge in the kitchen. She tries to keep her voice steady, but the vulnerability shows. She tells him she understands his shock, his desire to embrace Electra incontinently, but she fears what this could mean for their marriage. Brooke has lived through enough dishonors and maternity twists to know that family secrets have a way of continuing old injuries. She worries about the emotional closeness forming between Ridge and Electra, about the ineluctable shifts in fidelity among the children. Ridge assures her that Electra's appearance as his son doesn't dwindle his love for Brooke, but indeed he can hear the query in his own voice. At Forrester Creations, a tense board meeting unfolds. Eric Forrester calls everyone together, averring that the company must remain united despite particular bouleversements. He speaks with quiet authority, reminding them that the Forrester name has survived innumerous dishonors. Still, some board members raise practical concerns. However, does she have a claim to shares? To leadership? To impact? The business counteraccusations are as explosive as the emotional bones. If Electra is Ridge's natural son, Steffi feels her world cock. She has always been fiercely defensive of her place within the family and the company. Learning that she has another half-family isn't the issue. She has navigated amalgamated family dynamics before, but the secretiveness and suddenness unhinge her. She corners Thomas in the design room, demanding his honest opinion. Thomas, further reflective than usual, admits that while it's a shock, blood is blood. He suggests they give Electra space to reuse everything before replying defensively. Steffi bristles at the recrimination that she might act territorial, but deep down she fears losing influence in her father's eyes. Meanwhile, Ivy becomes a leper in certain circles. Though she believed revealing the verity was the right thing to do, she undervalued the intensity of the counterreaction. Ridge confronts her intimately, his wrathfulness slightly contained. He accuses her of playing God with his life, of deciding for him what he could handle. Ivy breaks down, averring she was recognizing Electra's mama's dying want. She explains that Electra's mama stressed reproach would destroy Ridge's marriage at the time and fracture the family beyond form. Ivy believed she was guarding everyone. Ridge listens, but remission doesn't come fluently. Electra ultimately agrees to meet Ridge alone at the sandhouse. The ocean crashes against the reinforcement as they sit facing each other, the weight of implied times between them. Ridge apologizes not for the secret, which he insists he no way knew, but for every moment he wasn't present. Electra's voice trembles as she asks him whether he'd have chosen her if he'd known. The question slices through him. He tells her unequivocally that he'd have fought for her, no matter the complications. Gashes flow freely now, and for the first time, they embrace not as distant cousins but as father and son. News of the disclosure inescapably leaks to the press. Captions scream about Forrester's secret daughter. Shooters mass outside the manse and the office. Brooke finds herself contending calls from journalists fumbling for commentary. Eric issues a precisely articulated public statement, admitting the private family matter and requesting respect. Still, the scrutiny intensifies the family's stress. Electra struggles with how to attune her history. She visits the grave of the man who raised her, scuffling with guilt for feeling betrayed. She realizes that biology doesn't abolish the love and offerings of the father she knew. This internal conflict deepens her character, making her more layered and compassionate. When she latterly confides in Steffi, the two women find unanticipated common ground in their participated jests of complicated maternity histories. The discussion softens Steffi's station, planting the seeds of neighborly understanding. Brooke still feels decreasingly insulated. Watching Ridge pour energy into erecting a relationship with Electra triggers precariousness she allowed. She had overcome. She confides in Katie, admitting she fears being sidelined emotionally. Katie advises her to support Ridge rather than contend with his newfound motherhood. Brooke takes the advice to heart and ultimately approaches Electra with conservative warmth, offering to help her navigate the media delirium. The gesture surprises Electra and opens the door to a fragile alliance. As weeks pass, Ridge begins involving Electra more directly in the company. He praises her design instincts intimately, buttressing her legality not just as his son but as a creative force. Some workers rumble about favoritism, but Electra works lifelessly to prove she deserves her place. Her first independent capsule collection receives glowing reviews, emblematizing her determination to forge her own path, rather than ride solely on her father's name. Ivy's bow becomes one of redemption. Escaped at first, she gradationally regains trust by demonstrating unwavering support for Electra and accepting responsibility for the times of silence. In an important scene, she sits with Eric, admitting the pain her secretiveness caused. Eric, ever the primogenitor, reminds her that while the verity hurt, it also freed them from a taradiddle that could have surfaced far more destructively latterly. His measured remission helps begin the mending process. The emotional climax arrives during a grand fashion show. The runway gleams under glowing lights as models glide down in stirring designs. Electra's collection closes the show. As applause erupts, Ridge joins her on stage. Before the followership of assiduity elites and flashing cameras, he intimately acknowledges her as his son. The protestation isn't dramatic but sincere, embedded in pride rather than spectacle. The crowd responds with standing acclamation, signaling acceptance. Backstage, the family gathers. Steffi leverages Electra authentically this time. Thomas offers a rare, uncomplicated smile. Brooke stands beside Ridge, her hand in his, projecting consanity. Indeed, Ivy looks relieved, gashes shining in her eyes. Yet the story doesn't end with perfect harmony. New pressures poach beneath the face. Questions of heritage, leadership race, and moping resentment. But the family has crossed a threshold. The secret that formerly hovered to destroy them has been converted into a catalyst for growth. In the final scene of this extended bow, Ridge and Electra walk through the quiet design plant after hours. Bolts of fabric and half-finished sketches compass them. Ridge tells her that being her father isn't just a natural fact, it's a responsibility he intends to recognize every day moving forward. Electra replies that knowing the verity has given her clarity. Indeed, if the path ahead remains complicated. They partake a quiet laugh, a sign that their bond is evolving naturally rather than forced. The camera pulls back, landing the hugeness of the plant and the heritage of the Forrester name sutured into every confluence. In true Cleaner Pieces fashion, heartache and stopgap attend. The disclosure that stunned them all has reshaped their individualities, challenged their commitment, and strengthened their capacity for remission. And as the lights shroud over Los Angeles, one verity remains inarguable in the world of the bold and the beautiful: secrets may wound, but they also reveal who the Forresters truly are when the limelight burns brightest. The weeks following the fashion show bring a deceptive calm to the Forrester estate, but beneath the polished shells and precisely rehearsed grins, Emotional foreshocks continue to ripple through everyone's lives on the bold and the beautiful. The public protestation Ridge made about Electra may have unified the family outwardly, yet intimately, each member wrestles with shifting individualities and new precariousness that refuse to settle still. Electra's life transforms nearly overnight. Assignations pour in, interviews, design collaborations, charity festivals, all eager to spotlight Ridge Forrester's recently conceded son. At first, she feels overwhelmed by the unforeseen attention. For time she worked still, determined to make her own merit without counting on the Forrester name. Now that same name amplifies everything she does. She fears that praise will be dismissed as nepotism and review magnified as evidence she doesn't belong. Ridge senses her anxiety and begins mentoring her further designedly. He invites her to sit in on administrative meetings not as an emblematic gesture, but as a licit creative mate. During one violent strategy session about expanding into a new European request, Electra offers a bold suggestion about incorporating sustainable fabrics into the line to attract youngish buyers. Some directors exchange skeptical ganders, but Ridge backs her instinct without vacillation. Her idea sparks a lively debate that eventually results in a new eco-conscious capsule collection. It's a small palm, but one that boosts her confidence significantly. Meanwhile, Brooke struggles with her place in this evolving family dynamic. She prides herself on being the emotional anchor of the menage, yet she now feels slightly displaced. Watching Ridge beam at Electra during meetings and loiter over late-night brainstorming sessions brings back old fears of being alternate precedents to his work, or to someone differently. Brooke reminds herself that this is fatherly pride, not romantic contest, but feelings infrequently observed sense. In a candid moment, Brooke approaches Electra in the design room after hours. Rather of battle, she offers vulnerability. She admits that this transition has been delicate for her, but assures Electra that she doesn't see her as a trouble. Electra, surprised by the honesty, confesses her own instability about fitting into a family with such a complicated history. The discussion becomes a turning point. Rather than allowing dubitation to grow, they begin erecting conservative trust. Steffi's internal conflict resurfaces when she overhears a board member suggesting that Electra might ultimately be prepped for leadership. Steffi has fought relentlessly for her position as co-CEO, riding dishonors and particular tragedies. The idea that someone could step into that limelight so suddenly stirs guard. She confronts Ridge, not angrily but directly, asking whether he envisions Electra in an unborn administrative part. Ridge reassures her that leadership must be earned, not inherited overnight. He emphasizes that Steffi's experience and adaptability remain irreplaceable. Though soothed, Steffi resolves to keep a vigilant eye on how power dynamics evolve. Thomas, ever observant, notices the subtle competition brewing and warns Steffi intimately that instability could produce the very rift she fears. He suggests they extend genuine support to Electra rather than drawing unnoticeable battle lines. Thomas himself feels suddenly defensive of his new half-family. Having endured judgment and redemption bends of his own, he empathizes with her struggle to prove herself. Ivy's plot deepens as she grapples with insulation. Though the immediate fury over her secret has cooled, trust doesn't completely return overnight. She volunteers to forefront a humanitarian action under the Forrester banner, supporting single maters. Navigating complex family dynamics, the cause reflects her own guilt and desire to atone. When she presents the idea at a family regale, the room falls quiet. Electra is the first to state support, admitting that while the history cannot be changed, positive action can shape the future. Ridge nods admiringly, signaling that Ivy's path to redemption is possible. Outside the family circle, the media delirium intensifies. A rival fashion house attempts to exploit the situation by insinuating insecurity at Forrester Creations. Tabloids question whether Ridge's particular distractions will weaken his leadership. To offset the narrative, Eric suggests a high-profile charity fete showcasing consanguinity within the family. The event becomes both a strategic PR move and an emotional litmus test.